would still like to see a united Ireland now.
It's for the Irish people to decide. My own view is historically Ireland, yes, I'm very much on the record of that. That's why I maintained a level of contact with Sinn Féin throughout that period, as indeed secretly the British government.
You didn't want a peace process. You wanted a united Ireland. You saw Northern Ireland as an imperialist colonial situation.
I do believe ultimately Ireland should be reunited.
In the early hours of this morning, there was an explosion at the Brighton Hotel where the Prime Minister and other delegates to the Conservative Party...
The Provisional IRA say they planted the bomb. The Special Branch says the Prime Minister escaped death by minutes.
This attempt to wipe out the government was the first since the gunpowder plot of 1605.
On the 27th of October 1980, Tommy McKerney and 6 other Republican prisoners refused their prison food. They insisted that if the British government did not meet their demand for political status, they would starve themselves to death.
But do you condemn what the IRA did?
I condemn all bombing. It's not a good idea. It's terrible what happened.
It's not the question. The question is, do you condemn what the IRA did?
Look, I condemn what was done by the British Army as well as by other sides as well.
But if you're a potential candidate for Prime Minister of the UK, Jeremy, it's fair for me to push you one more time. Are you prepared to condemn what the IRA did?
What it's fair to push me on is how we take the peace process forward.
Well, it's fair for me to ask you.
How we take it. You can ask any question you like.
Are you prepared to condemn what the IRA did?
Can I answer the question in this way? We gained ceasefires. They were important and they were a huge step forward. Those ceasefires brought about a peace process.
Are you refusing to condemn what the IRA did? Jeremy.
Hello. I think we're going to have to do this later, you know.
Okay, well, let me just this last question while it's quiet there. Are you refusing to condemn what the IRA did?
The plaques at the entrance door to this chamber in memory of Erin Eve, Robert Bradford, Ian Gow, Sir Anthony Berry, serving members of this House murdered by terrorists as they stood up for democracy and the British way of life. They're a reminder of the savagery and brutality of terrorism, as are the gravestones and the headstones in Northern Ireland and right across this land. The opposition leader has appointed a shadow chancellor who believes terrorists should be honoured for their bravery. Will the Prime Minister join with all of us on all sides of this House in denouncing that sentiment and standing with us on behalf of the innocent victims and for the bravery of our armed forces who stood against the terrorists?
Everything on but having seen that, gone through that period and that acquiescence all since throughout the 90s and in the early 2000s, to see that momentum build up just showed the best of our movement and just showed you what there was out there in terms of resources. It just needed that one small spark way back in November before last of the students kicking the shit out of Millbank, and then that spark lighting all the combustible material that then brought people out in March, June and then November. And that's the best of our movement. And it's still there. You know it's still there. We've just...
Jeremy Corbyn isn't a pacifist. A genuine pacifist, which I admit is very hard to be, is against all wars everywhere. Corbyn, John McDonnell, the people they've brought into the Labour Party have made endless excuses for Russian imperialism, for Islamic terrorism, and for, rather bizarrely at the same time, Assad. This is not the behaviour of pacifists. This is the behaviour of very slippery characters who don't quite have the guts to say openly support the Russian army as it moves into Ukraine, but do everything else to justify it.